A very, very timely conversation happening here tonight, folks. Thanks so much for staying tuned, because the prof is in the house. Professor P.L.O. Lumumba, when he shows up, you know we're waxing lyrical all evening long. Prof, earlier on in our first part, we're talking about Monday's march. Monday's protest and the march to State House. I mean, and a lot of people are taking this very lightly.
Very lightly.
This could turn south very easily.
You know, so very lightly, and words are being bandied around, like mass action. And let me use this occasion to share with my audience that mass action is an instrument that was used effectively by Martin Luther King Jr. during the Civil Rights Movement. And Luther King said that any responsible leadership that wants to engage in mass action must satisfy 4 tests. Number 1, they must demonstrate that they have a grievance and they do not want to use mass action to cause confusion and for the purpose of revenge. Number 2, that they must demonstrate that they have exhausted all methods of engaging government, including negotiations and petitions. Number 3, that having found all those methods and doors to be closed, that they intend to ensure that they do not cause injustice to others. And number 4, they must demonstrate that they have a clear program of salvaging the society without causing injustice to others. Let us put the so-called mass action against the Kingian test, and it fails on all 4. And what we are being told is going to be an insurrection, because it has been declared at different rallies that the intention is to remove the government of President William Ruto as established. It has been said that that government is illegitimate and that what is going to happen on Monday the 20th is a date with destiny. In other words, that 1 million supporters of Azimio will move into State House and remove President William Ruto and install Raila Amolo Odinga as the President of the Republic of Kenya. If that is not a recipe for chaos and bloodbath, tell me what the recipe is.
Yeah.
And I see people taking it very lightly.
Yeah.
It is not light. Lives will be lost. Ruto has his supporters. Raila has his supporters. And it will take a simple mistake and a simple misstep, and this country can burn. And those who are now tweeting and saying all manner of things will burn in it. Their children will burn in it. And it will take generations to bring this country together again, if we are to bring it again. Responsible leadership now has a duty, a patriotic duty, to step back and say, what is bigger, the country or my interest? The country or my desire to be president? The country of the institution? This is what we are asking. We are simply saying, you may not have liked the Supreme Court decision, but we accepted that we must have a system of determination of grievances which has finality to it. If we allow everybody, like Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga said, standing on a podium and saying, I declare the 20th of March to be a public holiday. Suppose all of us were to do that. Would that not be anarchy? Do we want anarchy? This country that has such potential, whether you support Raila Amolo Odinga or not, or support William Ruto, is that what you want? And what we ask in Kenya, reflect. Don't be consumed by passion. Don't be consumed by anger. Reflect and ask, after the 20th, what? After the 20th, what?
Yeah. You know what, Prof? 16 years ago, we did this. Kenya was on the edge of the abyss. And we looked over the edge and we didn't like what we saw. Look at this. 16 years later, we haven't learned anything?
The same thing? History has not taught us. Do we think we are immune from chaos? Do we think we have a pact with God that we can behave whichever way we want? Do we think that political bad manners is going to lead us where we want? The international community was here, and they saved us from the precipice. Why is it that the wax in our ears refuses to melt? Why is it that the scale in our eyes refuses to fall off? We are appealing to the leaders. God has given them an opportunity to provide leadership. Leadership is about self-denial. This time round, if we make a mistake, and have seen what happened in Kisumu today, those who think they have control should ask a person called Frankenstein. Sometimes you create a monster over which you have no control. Reflect and ask, do we want to destroy this country? Do we want it recorded that we are the ones who destroyed this country? We are simply asking, not for a handshake, we are simply asking responsible leadership. One of my greatest disappointments in this country, when there is a crisis and I hear Raila Odinga saying cost of living is high, I agree with him totally. I hear him saying that certain appointments could have been made better. I agree with him completely. But will marching on State House on the 20th solve those things? If he became the president on the 20th, would the prices of commodities suddenly go down? Would the appointments suddenly change? Would Kenya become El Dorado, the land of gold? Will he have a magic wand that he'll wave and lo and behold, Kenya's GDP increases? No. Has Parliament, and Azimio has parliamentarians, not a single parliamentarian has come and said, we want an emergency discussion on the state of this economy. We have 47 governors. Not one of them, they are meeting in Migori today as I speak. Not one of them has said there is a crisis in our country. Not a single women's representative. Not a single MCA. Why did we elect them? Why have we chosen the forum of political rallies? If you listen to some of the things that are being said in those political rallies, how people are being insulted, even sanitization of our language has disappeared. What kind of a country do we want to build? What role models are we? We are saying, please, let us come together as a people and say mistakes may have been made, but together we can resolve them. This is what patriotism is all about. Patriotism is not about singing the national anthem or reciting mottos and all. It's about sacrificing for the country, sacrificing personal interest for this generation and generations yet to be born.
Absolutely. Prof, if you're just joining us now, Professor PLO wrote to the president and the former prime minister, wrote a 5-page letter, if we can have it up again. And in that letter, he talks about a lot of issues plaguing and affecting Kenya right now. Let me ask you real quick as we get the letter up. It's been 7 months since we went to the polls. 7 months. Why has it taken so long for this administration to settle into place?
You know, those who know say that for any administration to settle in place, it takes 18 months. Forget about the mythical 100 days. You deal with appointments. Under the new Kenyan constitution, when you want to appoint anybody, you have to have an appointment panel. Once you've done that, you go to parliament. It is a long process. Kenya's appointment of public officials is one of the longest and the most expensive in the world. You are operating in an environment where the micro and macroeconomic fundamentals are unfavorable. And one does not have to be an economist to know that it is going to take this economy at least 3 years before we can begin to see the dividends. And that is holding all factors constant, assuming that we are behaving. As I speak to you now, 46% of our revenue is consumed by salaries. What is left for development? Money has not been disbursed to the counties, or if it is disbursed, it is not disbursed on time. The country is not doing well. When your country is not doing well, you sit together, you have a bipartisan approach to issues. You sit together, you forget Kenya Kwanza, you forget Azimio, you say, we are now Kenyans dealing with the Kenyan economy. That is what I would want to see. That is what every patriotic Kenyan would want to see. You'd want to see the reduction of wastage. You'd want to see the battle against corruption and misuse of public funds. That is what we want. I would have loved to see Raila Odinga, who is an elder individual in the political arena, reaching out to William Ruto and say, William, you know, we have worked together. We worked together when we were making the Constitution in 2002, you remember? We were together in 2007 and 2008 on the same political side. We may have differed, William, but the nation is greater than all of us. William, I am not happy that I lost to you, but that notwithstanding, I'm bigger than political office. Kenya is what resides in my heart and my mind. If Raila were to do that, let me tell you, history will remember him very fondly. But if on the 20th day of March, when schools are opening, there is a bloodbath, history will forget all else that he has ever done and remember him for only one thing, that he was in the forefront of the destruction of his beloved country.
At the same time, PLO, when the president says that enough is enough, and then the deputy president says, we will deal with this old man once and for all, what do you think they mean by that?
I personally would urge the president to be even more restrained. I would urge the vice president to be even more restrained. And in times such as this, the government should speak with a single voice so that there is no confusion as to what the government's position is. I hear the president is saying that the line has been drawn in the sand. That is my interpretation. And that if you do certain things, then we will do what is necessary and let the chips fall where they may. I personally pray and hope that we'll not reach that stage. I personally hope that those Kenyans of goodwill will still midwife a rapprochement between this administration and the Azimio administration. Unfortunately, it would appear to me that Honorable Odinga has neutered the entire Azimio administration so that their members in parliament are incapable of moving in a direction other than the one that he prescribes. I would ask him to allow his parliamentarians to function. If he does that, he would be a votary of democracy in accordance with our constitution. So in a nutshell, I'm saying both sides need to recognize that it only takes a misstep for the country to burn. And the country can burn. Countries have burned because of lesser things. Waswahili wanasema tukiendelea na ujinga huu itatutafuna, na vita havina macho. Vikianza havitatambua huyu ni Kenya Kwanza wala ni Azimio, itameza kila mtu.
Hapo ni kweli. Hapo ni kweli. A moment ago you were talking about appointments, right?
Yes.
Now, what is your opinion when Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua says that Kenya Kwanza administration is a company and only those who supported the party in the election will be appointed to government jobs? What do you...
That is an unfortunate statement. Kenya is not a company. Kenya is our motherland. Is a motherland that we cherish. And once we have voted a government into power, once we have voted the administration of Kenya Kwanza, then every Kenyan becomes available for appointment by Kenya Kwanza administration. It's true that every administration will appoint those who subscribe to their political agenda. To that extent, there is merit in what he's saying. But to say that you cannot go to Azimio or indeed any other Kenyan who has the quality to serve is, in my view, without merit. And I think that the deputy president should be a lot more restrained. The reason why in many countries senior public officials are scripted is to prevent a situation where they speak off the cuff and say certain things that are subject to multiple interpretations. Let it not be that we are saying things that lend themselves to multiple interpretation and make certain people and certain communities in this country to think that they are not a part of it. That is dangerous, and it gives and lends credence to centrifugal forces which can divide the country. Yeah. And I hope that in their private conversation, the President of the Republic of Kenya will tell his deputy, please, restrain yourself, choose your words carefully. This is not a company. This is our motherland in which all the communities have a stake and in which any Kenyan who deserves ought to be given the opportunity to serve, party affiliation notwithstanding.
Absolutely. Let's refer back to your letter, your 5-page letter to the President and the former Prime Minister. By the way, did you get any reply?
And I've received no formal reply, and I didn't expect any.
In there, you talk about standard of living, and you mentioned a moment ago, which is skyrocketing.
Yes.
And it looks like, I mean, it's got to reach a tipping point at some point. And you're telling them, let's deal with the issues that are pertinent.
Absolutely. You know, Jeff, this is no secret. Our country is doing badly. Our shilling is on a free fall against major currencies. The cost of commodities, the unemployment levels, our country is not doing well. And I tell both the President and the former Prime Minister, this is the time when we sit together and begin to reason together and ask ourselves the fundamental questions: what can we do? What I want to see are crisis meetings, crisis meeting of the National Assembly, crisis meeting of the Senate, crisis meeting of the Council of Governors, crisis meeting at all levels in order to ensure that we steady the ship and then begin to move in the right direction. This is what sensible countries do in times of crisis. This is not the time to waste money. Ask yourself the cost of each of these political rallies. Mm-hmm. It is possibly anything in the neighborhood of 2 million, because people come in with choppers, with motor vehicles that are guzzlers of oil. So each of those rallies are costing money in the millions. And not only that, what happened in Kisumu or Migori yesterday, if you talk to the business people, they have lost money in the millions. And that only serves to exacerbate the situation, which is undesirable. So the time is now for people who in positions of leadership to come together and ensure that we put together a package that will remove the country from the muck and mire of economic difficulties which we are suffering and which will lead to suffering if we continue on this trajectory.
But Prof, you know, it boggles my mind that, you know, we have such smart brains out there, and yet level heads have not prevailed. And yet we're being distracted by, you know, political issues. By the way, we never stop politicking. That's our other problem. We never stop. We're always in a political phase. And now things are getting so tough, and there's no, you know, sanity is not prevailing.
There is no sanity. And just look, even everybody has lost sanity. Look at the newspaper headlines. Look at the commentaries, the social media, the vitriol, so that it would appear that the genie is out of the bottle and we are all possessed by some spirit of destruction, and we are baying for blood. This is the tragedy. There is no shortage of good minds across the political divide. But if you listen to them or talk to some of them as I do, they are baying for blood. They are saying, we are going to get it. and the other side saying we are going to defend it. And as I said in the letter, Kenya is in a very lonely place. Nobody is speaking for Kenya. When I heard the religious groups speaking yesterday, they are so muted. I did not see the courage. I did not see the passion. This is unfortunate. And as I said in the letter again, when a country is hurtling towards its destruction, even when God reasons with them and the leaders, they think God mad. I hope we have not reached such a stage that God is reasoning with our leaders and with us, and we think God mad. If we reach such a stage, this country can fall. Let us not allow her to fall.
At the same time, Prof, I mean, there's some institutions that need major rebuilding. And for one of them, I'm talking about the International Electoral Boundaries Commission. It's commissionerless right now. The president and the former prime minister are at loggerheads. They're already fighting about how the selection process is going to go on, selecting the commissioners. How is this going to play out?
Those are the issues that constitute the agenda for discussion. We know things that are wrong. We know that our constitution needs to be taken care of. Are these not the things that we ought to deal with in order to ensure that going forward we don't find ourselves in the same quagmire? Can't we have a meeting at which we are saying we want to ensure that in future we immunize our electoral process from the kind of pain that it visits upon us every 5 years? What can we do to reduce wastage so that we don't find ourselves in an economic quandary? What can we do to reduce wastage in government? What can we do to ensure that in appointment of individuals into public office, there is no feeling of exclusion? These are the issues that I would want to see my leaders talk about when they have this rapprochement. So there is time and there is need to have a conversation.
Yeah. Is there an ideal way to select these electoral managers in such a way, like you said, that they can satisfy all the players? Is there an ideal way?
No, there is no ideal way. There is this perfection that we seek. It will never be found. And my good friend Muhisa Kitui once said when we sat with him on this bench, and I remember him so very eloquently saying, that the problem of Kenya is political bad manners, and that political bad manners will never be cured by constitutional amendments or amendments to the law. We must also ensure that we don't have a culture where if things don't go our way, then they are not right. But I believe that we can revisit our electoral process in a manner that will satisfy the critical majority. Because it appears that even in the face of Constitution of Kenya 2010, we are not satisfied that independent commissions are truly independent. So there is merit in asking, but looking for the ideal in this world, no, you'll never find it. There'll always be those who are dissatisfied, who think that they have their own version of truth, and that version of truth is what must carry the day.
Yeah.
So let us look for that which satisfies the critical majority.
Absolutely. Prof, you have reviewed the 2010 Constitution extensively. You've even written a book about it.
Yes, indeed.
Is there something that the makers of the Constitution could have missed out in some of these areas, like, the Constitution or constituting an electoral boundaries commission? Is there anything that they could...
a constitution is a living document. A constitution is not set in stone. It's not the Bible or the Quran or the Torah or the Bhagavad Gita. It can always be reviewed. And indeed, in the year 2004, I think Parliament did mandate the former Auditor General Edward Ouko to review the Kenyan Constitution. And certain aspects of it were found to be worthy of interrogation. And I think that this is the time There was the BBI, which did raise certain issues. I did not agree with a number of them, but I thought some of the proposals deserved re-examination. And I think the time is now for us to ask ourselves, how has our Constitution served us thus far? And if that is done in a bipartisan way, then we can identify those that have served us well and we retain them, and those that have not served us well, we amend them in a manner that is going to improve delivery of service and ensure that processes are respected in a useful way.
Yeah. Coming back to the IEBC, maybe the problem is not the commissioners. Maybe it's the secretariat.
I don't want to pass judgment because, in my view, there are those who hold the view, if you talk about the IEBC, they recently won an award. That they conducted a perfect election. In the eyes of others, they did a perfect job. So there is a sense in which, in looking at the IEBC, it will be necessary to ask ourselves whether the architecture of the IEBC as it is now is conflictual and therefore lends itself to abuse. And those are the issues that we are going to look at. What are the weaknesses? We have seen today in the newspapers that they lost quite a number of equipment, and we are only learning about it today. So there is merit in looking at all these things, and once we do so, we'll say, is it the secretariat that does not relate with the commission as well? Do we have many commissioners? There are different models. If you go to India, they don't have as many commissioners as we have. If you go to Germany, you have a different model. So we pick a model that is going to ensure that we work properly. There are many things to be done in the Kenyan Constitution in order to improve governance. We've got to look at the commission. There are too many of them, which are creating sinecure positions and don't serve the country as the country ought to be served. So what one is saying, the time is now to look at some of these things and look at them with the desire to improve governance in this country.
Absolutely. Yeah. Prof, I want to take a quick break, come back, talk some more. There's something that happened the other day. Our diplomacy, foreign missions can now deal directly with ministries, even the presidency, without going through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. That's very strange. I mean, it goes against what some people call the Vienna Convention. But let's talk about that and other issues. Professor P.L.O. Lumumba, waxing lyrical, folks. That's what we need. It's a timely conversation at this time in our history. What do you think? Keep tweeting at Koinange Jeff, at Citizen TV. Can you the hashtag? JK Live. JK Live takes a break. We'll be back and we're reading a lot of your comments and questions when we come back. Back in a moment.